the trade, some second-round draft picks, some good players too, but it was who they traded. They traded the best players, arguably, on their defense.
One went to my team.
Yeah, that's Quinnen Williams, who was a beast there in the middle of the defensive line. Yeah, you got a good one out of from Quinnen, and then we also traded Sauce Gardner, who's considered
top 2 or 3 corners in the league.
If not the top corner in the league. And the depressing part is, once again, it just proves the Jets are in a constant state of rebuilding. They got those players in a similar trade when they traded Jamal Adams years ago. So it's just starting over all over again every year. So.
We could sit here and talk about the heartbreak of our.
Hopefully, the new mayor of New York might be able to intervene, and if he can make the Jets go to the playoffs,
give them all free stuff to stay.
Look, if he could somehow work it out so the Jets get to go back to the playoffs after the longest playoff drought in professional sports history, then I think a lot of people will be all in.
Headline from the State Democratic Party dropped about an hour or so ago. West Virginia Democratic Party congratulates Democrats nationwide on historic election wins.
Yes, it was historic. Up and down the ballot, I think we heard from the people yesterday. I mean, you hear about polling and you hear about, focus groups and this and that. The real polling happens at the polls. And when people are able to go vote, and in just about every single election that I'm aware of, Democrats swept. They won, and they won overwhelmingly. The race in New Jersey was supposed to be close. It wasn't close at all. In Virginia, our neighboring state, I believe the Democrats in the House, not only did they sweep the executive branch with the governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, even, who had people were wondering if he was going to win. He was able to pull it out and win. And then in the down ballot in our House of Delegates races, they picked up 13 seats. And some of those being in more rural areas, typical, not Democratic strongholds.
That's what's interesting to me, and you point this out in the release. I'm just going to read this. This is your words or the words of the party. One of the most encouraging signs came out of neighboring Virginia, where Democrat performance increased in nearly every county, even in deeply red rural counties where Republicans have long dominated.
Yeah, I believe there were some down ballot races in Mississippi that where Democrats won, in legislative races in Mississippi. Also, I believe you just mentioned before I got here, a statewide race in Georgia where 2 Democrats were elected to the Public Service Commission. Now, wouldn't it be great if West Virginia had elected public service commissioners that actually had to answer to the people? But that's a whole another issue for another show. The point is that it wasn't just in New York City. Yeah. It was in rural parts of Virginia. It was in Georgia, parts of Mississippi. I mean, the mayor of Alamo Gordo, New Mexico, which, by the way, is a very, very red part of New Mexico. Historic election there. First person of color to be elected mayor there, Sharon McDonald, the new mayor of Alamo Gordo, New Mexico. So what I'm taking away from this is whether it was progressive Democrats or more centrist Democrats like you had in Virginia, the message was the same. It's about the economy. It's always about the economy. It's about the cost of living. It's about affordability. It's about access to health care. It's about kitchen table issues, something I will give credit to our minority leader here in West Virginia, Sean Hornbuckle, and the rest of the House Democratic Caucus for putting together this kitchen table tour, because that's what people are concerned about. And we heard from the people yesterday, and they spoke loudly and clearly, and it's about kitchen table issues. That's what people are concerned about, and that's what drove them to the polls.
So, when you look at this as a whole, and again, there were some surprises. There were some that people called toss-ups, or going into the race that they thought they would be toss-ups. I don't think the Mondami winning in New York was a surprise to anyone. But some of these others were.
What was surprising is he got the majority of votes in a three-way race.
That's what impressive. It is indeed. So let's bring this back home to West Virginia. So what does this say for the Mountain State as the State Democratic Party chair?
If you organize everywhere, you can win anywhere, because there were places that were Republican strongholds that are now trending more to Democrats. And I think people are tired of the same old politics as usual. You had a president that ran on the economy. He ran on inflation. He said he was going to address inflation on day one. He didn't do that. He's more concerned about building himself a gold ballroom than he is about affordable housing for people in this country. That's what people are concerned about. They're concerned about the issues that they talk about around their kitchen table, things that impact their day-to-day lives. And instead, they've got a leader in the White House it's more concerned about the airing of his personal grievances than he is about the priorities of Americans. And it showed up yesterday at the polls. This dissatisfaction with how the country is going, it showed up in droves at the polls yesterday. So I think if it can happen, if it can happen anywhere, it can happen here as long as we are well organized and we have great candidates on the ballots. That's my appeal today is if you're listening, if you're out there and you've ever thought about running for office as a Democrat, now's the time. Now is the time. 2026 could be a very, very good year. If you go to WVDemocrats.com/run, we'll give you everything you need to know. Contact us. We want to work with you. We want to get you on the ballot and give West Virginians choices and help improve the lives of our friends and neighbors here in West Virginia instead of this fixation that the other side has with non-issues.
So I want to, if you don't want to, I don't want to get into the playbook too deeply, but I know, having been around Republican politics as I was for a number of years, that if anybody wants to run for office on the Republican Party, let's just say for House, I'm just using that as an example, usually the executive committees or somebody like that will sit down with them. There's like a little checklist. How do you feel about this? How do you feel? Do you guys also do that? I mean, and what I'm saying is how much do you put on the national party platform? If I want to run for House out of Jackson County, I'm just going to say that as an example.
It's a term that gets used a lot, but it is true in regards to West Virginia Democrats, and I think in all Democrats, we are a big tent party.
Okay,
and that's why what you saw yesterday, victories from people from across the spectrum of Democratic politics, but it was all about affordability. It was all about cost of living. It was all about the economy. That's what everybody ran on, and that's why the results were the way they were. But no, we don't have a litmus test, and really, we encourage people to get on the ballot. And ultimately, if we have choices in the primary, then the primary voters decide who the nominee is.
Is there a room within your party, Mike, for more centrist Democrats or the old school classic West Virginia Democrats?
Yeah, we have those in our party. We have, I think, our party in West Virginia runs the spectrum there of all from the progressive to the more centrist. There's even room for you, Dave Allen. In fact, I brought some paperwork with me from the Secretary of State's office. And we think it's time that you got involved with a party, and you're more than welcome in ours.
Look, I've told my story before. I was a registered Democrat because I'm from Logan County, and there were no Republicans, and if there were none to vote for. Now it's become the exact opposite. Now there's no Democrat, but I'm a registered independent, so effective last year.
Well, you're still welcome to vote in our primary, unlike our Republican counterparts who decided to close their primaries and tell independents and unaffiliated voters that they're not welcome to vote in their primary. You're welcome in ours.
All right, so you're putting out the appeal because you want people to run for office. You want people to run in West Virginia and run as Democrats.
Yes, we want people to run for office. We want people to step up. People who aren't quite ready for that can step up and help better people get elected to office, because West Virginians deserve that. They deserve choices, and they deserve a state government that works for them, and not just for the donors, and not just for the headlines, and not just to get out there and push wedge issues that do absolutely nothing for nobody except get people very ticked off at each other.
As state Democratic Party chair, have you had phone calls, meetings, text message, whatever, with folks on the National Democratic Party about the results last night?
Yes, yeah. There's been communication with the National Party, but what was better than that? I've had phone calls from some folks here in West Virginia, and it sparked their interest, and they're interested in getting back in the game or getting in the game and stepping up and running. So those were the phone calls that I really enjoyed last night.
State Democratic Party Chair and Delegate Mike Pushkin. Sorry about the Jets fire sale, buddy. But
we're rebuilding.
Yeah, well, I have touted the Cowboys offense all season. Oh, if we just had a defense, and then Dak stunk it up the last two games.
I think we got 5 first-round picks, and my first thought was, on 5 young lives ruined.
That's right. And not just because Mandami was elected. I had to throw that in there.
Well, technically, they play in New Jersey, so they also have a new governor as well, in Mikey Sherrill, who won overwhelmingly up and down the ballot in New Jersey.
All right. State Democratic Party Chair Mike Pushkin, I appreciate you being here. It's 16 minutes away from 1 o'clock. When we come back, we're going to switch gears from